friends. I hope you're all doing well today. I'm coming to you to have a quick conversation about a very cool pattern seen in stream deposits known as imbrication. But before we talk about imbrication, we have to quickly go over the movement of sediments in water, or what is known as sediment transport. There are three main types of sediment transport, or three different types of loads being carried by the water. The first would be our dissolved load, and that is our absolute smallest particle. A particle that can be dissolved and then carried in water as a solution. So you can think of salt, grains of salt, being dissolved and becoming salty water. You don't see that, but the salt is in the water and it's become part of the load being carried by the water. Our next type of sediment transport, our next load, would be the suspended load. And those are our very fine particle sizes. So our silts and our clays. You can see our silts and our clays being moved, carried by the water, especially after heavy rainstorms. When you go to take a look at a stream and you see what looks like a chocolate river running down the valley. That look of muddy, turbid water is created by our particles that are in suspension. So our silts and our clays being carried and making the water look muddy. The last type of load we want to talk about is the bed load. We know that the bottom of the stream is known as the stream bed. So all of our coarse-grained sediment, our larger particles, our large gravels, cobbles, and boulders are all part of the bed load. And in higher flows, those particles may begin to move or mobilize. They become mobile. Right now, they are stuck in place. Now, we've talked about in the past how water moving through a stream is able to pick up sediment. And that ability to pick up the sediment is dependent on how fast the water is moving. So in larger flows, when there's more water coming through at a faster speed, the more likely it is to be able to pick up these larger boulders and cobbles that we see on the stream bed. The bed load moves in two main ways. Smaller gravels and pebbles that are on the stream bed and tucked in between these larger pieces of sediment will move easier. When the water becomes fast enough to move them, they will begin to lift up off of the stream bed and bounce along the stream bed, moving downstream. That bouncing and moving downstream is known as saltation. Our larger particles, the boulders and cobbles, don't really have that ability to bounce along the stream bottom. They move in what is known as a traction type movement. So they roll and they slide and they bump into each other and they kind of tumble along the stream bottom. And that's how they move. This tumbling allows for that pattern, imbrication, to form on our stream beds. The word imbrication means that objects are lined up in a way that they are, their edges are overlapping on each other. So you can think of dominoes. When you tip dominoes over, they kind of line up stacked like this, right? The same thing happens when our bed load moves. So that rolling and tumbling, those large rocks eventually stop and they start to stack up against each other. When you're walking in your stream, it may look like the sediment is just in a big, messy pile. But if you take a good look at it, you start to see that they are kind of lined up with each other at what is known as a preferred orientation. This preferred orientation stacks the rocks so that the top is pointing downstream. And they kind of line up like this. So if the water is flowing this way, the rocks will be stacked like this. If our water was flowing that way, they would be stacked like this. So let's take a walk around this stream and see where we can find some really good examples of imbrication. At first glance, this cobble bar may look like an unsorted, messy pile of rocks. But if you look closely, especially on the upstream end, you start to see that imbricated pattern. This bar has larger material, bigger cobbles and boulders, but it also has this stick left behind by a higher flow. Downstream of the stick, you see this nicely defined imbricated pattern with these overlapping boulders. Whoa, here's a really good one. Yeah. Okay, my friends, so you may have noticed that this stream has some really big pieces of sediment, a lot of boulders, a lot of cobbles. And when this stream does get to flood stage and those particles start to move, those are the kinds of particles that are going to be creating that imbricated pattern. So I just want to take one more moment to look at the left bank here, where we have some erosion and some exposed sediment. That sediment, if you look carefully, it's started to fall apart a little bit, so it's not very clear. But you can see that it has some of that preferred orientation. We know that streams move and cut down over time. So at one point, this stream was up there, and those deposits are old stream deposits from this stream. Now, if that bank is left undisturbed for millions of years, it will turn into a sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rocks are made from sediments, and sediments are deposited in all different kinds of environments. A sedimentary rock composed of sediment from a stream will have a lot of the same patterns that we see in our modern streams. So if you find a sedimentary rock that has that imbricated pattern in its grains, then you would, one, know that it formed in a stream setting. It formed from sediments that came from a stream, so an ancient stream bed. And two, you would know which direction the water was flowing in. If the grains are imbricated this way, then we would know that the stream was flowing this way, right? If the grains are imbricated this way, then we would know that the stream was flowing that way. So very cool pattern that you can use to understand streams today and streams from the ancient world. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about that imbricated stream pattern. Next time you're out in a stream, make sure to pay close attention to the deposits. See if you can spot that pattern. Also, make sure to look at your stream banks to see if that may have been an old stream bed. It always helps to take out your notebook and make a little sketch. If you drew out this stream bank, you would start to see that pattern emerge, because you really start to understand what you're seeing when you take some time to draw it out. So I hope you enjoyed this quick lesson, and I will see you soon. Take care.